Hello, Steph. It's such an honor to have you as a guest on the Paleo Gardening Expert Interview segment. Thanks for coming on the show today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Steph Gaudreau is a holistic nutritionalist, coach, and owner of Stupid Easy Paleo. She wrote the bestseller, The Paleo Athlete, A Beginner's Guide to Real Food for Performance in 2014, and her award-winning book, The Performance Paleo Cookbook. So, Steph, how would you explain all that you do to anyone who's unfamiliar with your work?
Basically, in a nutshell, I like to tell people that I help other people figure out how to eat healthier and incorporate movement into their day. So that's essentially the goal of what I do, but I do lots of different stuff. I write and create recipes on my website. I coach at a local gym, so I coach weightlifting. I do photography. I do all sorts of stuff in my sort of day-to-day life.
So everyone has a unique story of how they regained their health in the paleo world, and your blog post about conquering sugar is especially inspiring. So can you share about your journey to health?
Yeah, I never would have considered myself to be a sick person, but prior to finding a paleo way of eating, I definitely didn't feel my best. And so I had a lot of, sort of lingering health issues and just never felt truly good from my day-to-day life. And I would be really low on energy and have really kind of terrible cravings for sugar and different sort of mood swings. And, I just always felt like I was never really on an even keel. And I would have bloating when I ate certain foods. And I just kind of thought all of that stuff was normal. So I've, lived with that all for quite a long time and tried a variety of different ways of eating. I was a vegetarian for a while. Tried Weight Watchers for a while. I did all sorts of things, and nothing really seemed to resolve those issues that I was feeling. And then a friend told me that she was going to try the paleo diet. This is 2009. A friend of mine and her husband, who I used to race bikes with, and they said, we're going to do this thing called paleo. And I thought, that sounds crazy, because I was racing mountain bikes at the time, and everything I ate was basically made from grains. And I was like, well, I don't know. I guess I don't have anything to lose. I'll try it out. So I decided in January of 2010, which is just a few months later, to give it a shot. And within a couple months, I started to feel so much better than I ever had. I mean, I didn't have that kind of afternoon crash of energy. I felt energetic the whole day. Like I didn't walk around bloated all the time anymore. All sorts of great positive changes happened to me when I changed the way I ate. So I've been kind of doing that ever since. It's been about 6 years.
Yeah, we're about 4 years into the paleo diet, and wow, what a difference. We raise all our own meats and vegetables and everything, but when I took the grains and the sugars out, and dropped those carbs, it's like a totally different day for me. It was awesome.
Sure. Yeah.
So how has your journey to health affected the way that you help others?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. When I started to eat differently and eat paleo, I would post recipes on my personal website at the time. It was just a blog where I shared stories about my mountain biking adventures, and I would post recipes, and gradually more people that I knew started to ask me if I could post my recipes. And in 2011, a friend of mine said, hey, maybe you should just start a food blog. And so I did. I had no idea what I was getting into. But that was really the jumping off point, was just me sharing what I did with other people in a very casual way. And gradually more and more people I knew would reach out to me and say, hey, I want to try something like this. Can you help me? And that was really sort of the evolution. It was very natural, but I used to be a high school teacher, and teaching people how to do things is just kind of in my nature. And so even though I don't teach high school anymore, I was in for 12 years in the classroom, and then I left in 2013. I still consider myself a teacher primarily. That's what I do. I'm a teacher, a coach. I show people how to do things and help them do those things. So it was really a natural sort of evolution for me to take this idea and share it with other people. And that's how Stupid Easy Paleo kind of evolved.
That's cool. It's just an organic process of just people liking what you're doing and jumping on board. That's great.
Absolutely.
So I've heard rumors about a women's strength summit that you're creating. So could you tell me more about this event?
Yeah. So I decided late last year, probably around September or October, that I was somewhat dissatisfied with some of the other online summits or virtual events that I was seeing marketed toward women. And I've been working a lot more one-on-one coaching with women, small group coaching with women. I coach women out at the gym here in San Diego, and it's become a real passion and focus of mine is to help other women learn the techniques and best strategies towards strengthening not only their bodies but their minds, because the mindset piece is so important. And as I looked around this online space, I kind of thought, well, no one's really doing this the way I think the topic deserves to be treated, which is making women, giving women options that aren't just all about how they look or, you know, the sort of strong is the new sexy, do you have a bikini body, that sort of stuff. I mean, women can find that all over the place. You just go into any bookstore or any gas station and look at the magazines that are there. And, you know, if you want to be the sexy lady or you want that kind of message, you can find it. But I didn't find a lot of online events that really got to the core of helping women be more confident in a true sense. And not that having aesthetic goals isn't bad, but I just wanted to offer women more. And so I came up with this idea of the Women's Strength Summit, which is 33 amazing female speakers. So this is an event created by women for women. And these ladies range in expertise. Some of them are fitness coaches, they're health coaches, they're doctors and registered dietitians, they are athletes, they are thought leaders who are really out there changing this conversation about what it means to be a strong woman in the year 2016. And so I got them all together and did video interviews with each one and came up with some really cool topics for women, you know, things that women deal with. Because I think when we learn from each other, it's very, very powerful. And I don't want people to think that that men aren't also doing some really great things for women, and they certainly are. But there's just something different about hearing it from somebody who knows exactly what it's like to go through these things, whether it's dealing with strength and changing body image as a mom-to-be or a new mom, or a woman who wants to join a gym for the first time and feels intimidated, or somebody who's, you know, trying to balance a busy life with lots of different balls that they're trying to juggle. You know, being a wife, being a sister, being a daughter, being a friend, and having your own goals too. And so these ladies are all going to be coming together starting March 1st, and for 9 days we'll be releasing their interviews, and women will get to listen for free and learn from these really incredible speakers.
That sounds awesome. Where is it going to be?
It's held online, which is really cool. So that way you don't have to buy a plane ticket or go on a road trip or book a hotel. It's just all online. And the website is womensstrengthsummit.com. And you can sign up to listen and watch for free.
Cool. I think I will do that. I'm a woman too. And there are things, I agree, that, you've been through, I've been through, you can help me through this, and yeah, that's awesome. What a nice gift to this world. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Your podcast, Harder to Kill Radio, has been a huge success. So what has been one of your favorite podcasts to record?
Oh, that's such a hard question because I love them all. Because I am a very science-minded person, I got my degree in biology, human physiology. That was my undergraduate degree, and I taught chemistry and biology and physiology. Really, I get so into that sort of stuff. I'd have to say my interview with a guy named Dr. Steve, and we kind of geeked out on neuroscience and performance and aging and all sorts of really cool stuff. And I think in our world, he's an athlete with a sports league called the Grid League, which is sort of like CrossFit, but a little bit different. So it's a lot of high intensity exercise, and he is in the 40 and over age group, so he's always competing with the younger crowd. And we talked a lot about how as we get older, sometimes we try to dial in our performance by doing lots and lots of really obscure things, when in fact it all kind of comes down to basics and treating your body really well instead of beating it up even more. And so that for me, because I'm also a master's athlete, I'm not 40 and over quite yet, but getting there. For me, in that sort of same space, it was just really great to hear somebody kind of validating everything I've ever felt as I've gotten older as an athlete, and somebody who enjoys competition. So I think that was probably one of my favorite episodes for that reason.
That's cool. How many episodes have you done?
40.
Yeah. Nice. What is your process for creating a new recipe?
It's so funny because people always ask me when I wrote my cookbook, where did I get my inspiration and how did I create these recipes? And my answer is almost always just stuff that I make in my everyday life. I love cooking and I love watching cooking shows, and sometimes I'll take inspiration from things I see there or restaurants that I go to, but it's almost always one of those things where I look around the kitchen and I think, well, what am I going to make today? And I kind of just put things together. So that's mainly where the recipes that people see on the website come from. That's the stuff we eat every day, So it's not really anything that's not like true life. This is kind of like true life. And I mean, I would totally love to geek out and make some really complicated things, but I just don't have the time because I'm, running the business and coaching and training and all the other things that we do. So most of the time it is just keeping it simple and tasty so that we're sort of, enticed to keep eating this way, and just keeping it really basic.
I think that's the key. I found that cooking paleo without all the breads and things was actually easier than the gluten-free, dairy-free diet that I was on previously.
Yeah.
And it's just so much simpler, and it's like, oh, this is better. And we started adding things that we had never eaten before, like coconut milk, and it's like, oh, there's a whole new world out there. This is fun.
Yeah, definitely. It's, to me, as long as I keep my pantry decently stocked, I like the fact that I can just go in and create something that tastes good. And I almost never cook from a recipe, if I'm being honest. Like, I have so many cookbooks, and I almost never use them.
That's the same way that I cook. I go out in the garden with my basket. I gather up whatever is ripe at the time in the greenhouses or out in the garden. bring it home, and that's dinner.
Yeah?
Yeah, kind of fun.
Exactly.
So what were some exciting discoveries you've made while writing your cookbook?
Oh, wow. I haven't told many people this, but probably the most exciting discovery for me is that I love photography a lot more than I love making recipes. So, yeah, I did all the photography for my cookbook, the Performance Paleo cookbook, and there are some recipes in the Paleo Athlete as well. And that was before I was really good at photography, so some of those pictures aren't so great. But I really learned through the process of making my cookbooks that photography is extremely rewarding for me. I also do love cooking, but I also discovered that for me, to come up with 100 recipes and have to test them all and make sure the instructions are crystal clear and there are no mistakes in the ingredients. And I mean, that happens on the blog too, but it's not in that volume and there's no time constraint, and you can change it because you can go and edit a blog post at any time. There was an extra added pressure with making the book of having all the recipes be top notch. And I mean, 100 recipes, I think we used 5 from the website. So there were about 95 new recipes, which it doesn't sound like a lot because we use the number 100 for a lot of things in life, but wow, it was a lot of work. And so I ended up photographing 90 of those recipes, and through that process I found that I really enjoyed photography more than the actual process of book writing, which is exciting for me. I don't know how that bodes well for another future cookbook, but yeah, I just discovered that I really got a lot of creative satisfaction out of photography.
Well, the next cookbook will just be gorgeous and delicious. And we all win. That's fun. So what inspired you to create the first cookbook?
The Performance Paleo cookbook really was an answer to all the questions that I had been receiving about, you know, I want to compete in this sport, or I train a lot, but I really don't know. I don't know how to eat. I don't know when I should eat, because there's a lot of talk about nutrient timing and pre and post workout meals and how much protein you should eat. And so it was really my answer to give people a resource to say, hey, not only like for post workout is it great to eat protein and carbohydrate, but like now here's some recipes that you can actually go in the kitchen and make. Or I would get a lot of people who would write to me and say, because I used to be a mountain biker, and they'd say, you know, I'm a cyclist, or I'm a runner, and I want to eat a more natural diet that's not full of kind of these synthetic performance foods. Like, what can I eat when I'm on the go? And so, you know, I kind of created some recipes for people there as well, and tried to give a pretty diverse selection of, you know, here's something you can eat that's handheld, or here's something you can drink, or here's something you can sit down and eat without a fork and a knife if you're busy on the go, like that sort of stuff. And then what do you eat for the rest of your meals? And, you know, because that's the foundation of good nutrition, isn't just what you eat before and after. It's really every meal of the day. And so I put together chapters that people could use to mix and match. So they could say, hey, today I need to eat more carbohydrates because I did a really hard workout. Here's a chapter on carb-dense side dishes that you can add to a protein dish and then add on some vegetables, and there you have a complete meal. And so I really wanted to be able to give people different options for making healthy eating and eating to support their performance taste really good and not be super confusing.
That's a great idea, because people are busy, and there is so much information out there. It's hard to distill what is the right thing and what isn't.